चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। सर्वशास्त्राब्धिपीयूष सर्ववेदैकसत्फल सर्वसिद्धान्तरत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैकदृक्प्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो खलिद्वान्तोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तितः परमानन्दपाठाय प्रेमवर्षक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोऽस्तुते। मदेकबन्धो मत्सङ्गिन् मद्गुरो मन्महादन मन्निष्ठारकमद्भाग्य मदानन्द नमोऽस्तुते। असाधुसाधुतादायिन् अतिनीचोच्चतारक आणमुञ्च कदाचिन्मां गृह्णाहृत्कण्ठयोस्फुर। Just 1 minute.
Prabhuji can't hear anything.
Mataji, Prabhuji has gone inside for a couple of minutes, so he will come back
Okay.
and start the class. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So last week we discussed Dhruva Maharaj's son Utkala, his character, because he was a Mahabhagavata devotee. He did not have the appropriate disposition required for being a king. Therefore, the brahmanas, the ministers appointed the younger son Vatsara as the king. And then there is a description of the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. In the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj, Maitreya Rishi mentions that of the 12 sons, Ulmuka begot 6 sons and his wife Pushkarini, and they were all very good sons. And their names were Anga, Sumana, Khyati, Kratu, Angira, and Gaya. And then in the next 2 verses, he is described specifically about Anga. This is the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. In the descendants, in the dynasty of Dhruva Maharaj, there was a personality called as Anga. About Anga, Maitreya Rishi says, सुनीतांगस्य या पत्नी
सुनीतांगस्य या पत्नी
सुषुवे वेन मुल्बणम्
सुषुवे वेनम उल्बनम
यद्यौ यद्यौ शील्यात् स राजर्षीर्
यद्वौशिल्याच्च राजर्षि
निर्विण्णो निरगात् पुरात्
निर्विन्नो niragapurat. Translation: the wife of Anga, Sunita, gave birth to a son named Vena, who was very crooked. The saintly king Anga was very disappointed with Vena's bad character, and he left home and kingdom and went out to the forest.
सुनीता अंगस्य या पत्नी. Anga's wife is called as Sunita. Sushuve Vena Ulbanam. She gave birth to a Ulbanam, very fearful son named Vena. But Anga is called as Rajarishi, the saintly king Anga. Yat Daushilyat Nirvinno Niragat Purat. Daushilyat. Because of the bad character of Vena, Nirvinno, he became disgusted. And Purat Niragat, he left home. He left the kingdom. Niragat, he left the kingdom. Next shloka. Yamangashepu kupita
यमङ्गशेपुः कुपिता
Vagvajra yakhila
वाग्वज्रा मुनयः किल
Gatasostasya bhuyaste
गतासोस्तस्य भूयस्ते
Mamanthur dakshinam karam
ममन्थुर्दक्षिणं करम्
Arajake tada loke
अराजके तदा लोके
दस्युभिः प्रजाः
दस्युभिः पीडिताः प्रजाः
जातो नारायणांशेन
जातो नारायणार्केण
पृथुर पृथुराद्यक्षितीश्वरः
पृथुराद्यः क्षितीश्वरः. Translation: My dear Vidura, when great sages curse, their words are as invincible as a thunderbolt. Thus, when they cursed King Vena out of anger, he died. After his death, since there was no king, all the rogues and thieves flourished. The kingdom became unregulated and all the citizens suffered greatly. On seeing this, the great sages took the right hand of Vena as a churning rod, and as a result of their churning, Lord Vishnu, in his partial representation, made his advent as King Prithu, the original emperor of the world.
Yamangashepu kupita Vagvajra munayakhila. So Brahmanas, the great sages, they don't carry physical weapon. But by their tapasya, when they pronounce curses, their words act as a weapon. Therefore, Vagvajra. The Brahmanas whose words are like thunderbolts, Vagvajra. These Brahmanas, they became angry at Vena. They became angry at Vena and they cursed him. Shepuhu. Shep Yam Anga Shepu Kupita. Kupita Munayaha. The angry brahmanas whose words were thunderbolts, Vak Vajra, Shepuhu, they cursed Vena. Why? And then after cursing Vena, Gatasos tasya bhuyaste mamantur dakshinam karam. Gatasoho means what? Gatasoho means without a king. Gata asoho, asu means life here. Gatasoho means after Vena died. After the Vena died, because the kingdom was without a king, Gatasoho tasya bhuyaste mamantur dakshinam karam arajake tadaloke. Arajake, because the people were without a king. Arajake at that time. Dasyubhi pidita prajaha. Prajaha dasyubhi piditaha. The citizens were tormented by the thieves. Then at that time, what the sages did? Mamantuhu means churned. Mantan karna. Dakshinam karam. What did they churn? They churned the right hand of Vena. Tasya dakshinam karam mamantuhu. And then who was born? Jato Narayanamshena Pruturadya Kshitishwaraha. Adya Kshitishwaraha, the first king. Prutu is called as Adi Raja, the first king of the earth. Narayanamshena, he was born as a portion of Narayana, the Amsha of Narayana. So, Prutu is called as the first king because he established the towns and cities. So, we can see Prabhupada says that monarchy is better than democracy. Because if the monarchy is very strong, the regulative principles within the kingdom are upheld very nicely. If the monarchy is very strong. So, if the even 100 years ago, Prabhupada says in Kashmir, the king was so strong that if a thief was arrested, the king would immediately give punishment to the thief. Then because of that immediate punishment, there were practically no theft cases within the kingdom. So therefore, when there is a personal, like the democratic government, it is like an impersonal government. Although there are persons behind it, but they don't have absolute power. That is why it becomes difficult to implement the laws actually. So many laws are passed, but then there are other power centers like Supreme Court and other things. They nullify the laws and many things are there. So even if someone left something, and the rule was that the things could be taken away only by the proprietor and that no one else would touch him. But in democracy, wherever there is the theft case, the police come, take note of the case. The thief is generally never caught, or the thief is caught, but the case goes on for many decades. So because of such a system itself is corrupt, the system itself is not strong. Therefore, there are so many thieves present in the society. So Prabhupada is talking about the monarchy. So based on these two shlokas, Vidura will ask a question. So we will see in the Bhagavatam, there is a description of the different dynasties. And then at a particular, some incident in the description of the dynasty that gives rise to curiosity on the part of the listener. And then the listener, like in the case of Vidura, he would ask a question about this particular incident. And then because of that question, now the description of Anga Maharaj, Vena, and then Prithu Maharaj will go on for many chapters. And then again the description of the dynasty will come, and then Shukdev Goswami or Maitreya Rishi would put a sudden break whenever there is some personality whose life is very intimately connected with the Bhagavata Dharma, the glories of Bhagavan. At that time, he would put a sudden break, and then he would give the description of the dynasty. Then again, he would continue the dynasty. That's how the Bhagavatam. So there is a seminal dynasty. Whenever there is a description of a seminal dynasty, the description would go on without any interruption. But in that seminal dynasty, when there is a personality who is a pure devotee or whose life is intimately connected with the pure devotional service, then there would be a sudden break and the description of the dynasty for some chapters, of that particular personality for some chapters. So Vidura is asking a question. Vidura uvacha
Vidura Vacha
tasya shila nidhe sador
Tasya Shila Nidhe Sadho
brahman yasya mahatmanah
Brahman Yasya Mahatmanah
rajnya katamabuddhushta
Ragna Katama Buddhusta
prajayad vimanayayau.
Rajayad Vimanayayau. Translation. Vidur inquired from the sage Maitreya, "My dear Brahman, King Anga was very gentle. He had high character and was a saintly personality and lover of Brahmanical culture. How is it that such a great soul got a bad son like Vena, because of whom he became indifferent to his kingdom and left it?"
So Vidura is asking question that tasya shila nidehe. Shila nidhi, this word refers to Anga Maharaj. Anga, who is a ocean of good qualities. Katam abut, how come King Anga, an ocean of good qualities, and then who is a saintly sadhu, brahmanyasya, who is respectful to the brahmanas, mahatmanaha, a great devotee. So you see, four words are used to describe Anga Maharaj: Shila Nidhi, Sadhu, Brahmanya, and Mahatmana. All these words are adjective for the Visheshana for Anga, Rajnyaha. How could the king Anga, who is having these qualities, how could we have a Dushta Praja? How did he have a bad son? Yet Vimanaya Yav, and which caused him to leave the home in disgrace. That he became so disgusted that he left the home, he left the kingdom. So, in a family life, a man is supposed to live happily with father, mother, wife, and children. But sometimes, under certain conditions, one of the family member itself becomes an enemy. A father, mother, child, or a wife becomes an enemy. The Chanakya Pandit says that a father is an enemy when the father is having too much of debt. Mother is an enemy when she marries for the second time. Wife is an enemy when she is very beautiful, because others may try to exploit that. And son is an enemy when the son is a foolish rascal. In this way, when a family member becomes an enemy, then the family life becomes very difficult. So such situations do occur in the material world. So therefore, Shastras talk about retirement at a particular time. So that the balance of life may be completely devoted to Krishna consciousness. So now, so Vidura asks actually questions in 4 shlokas. The first shloka is first question is about how can Anga have such a bad son? How can Anga, who is a Sheelanidhi, Sadhu, Brahmanya, and a Mahatma, how could he have such a bad son? Second question is Kim Vamho Vena Uddishya
Kim vam bhovena uddishya
Brahmadandam Ayuyujan
brahmadandam ayuyujan
Danda Vratadhare Ragni
dandavrata dhare ragni
Munayo Dharma Kovidaha.
munayo dharma kovidaha. Translation. Vidura also inquired, how is it that the great sages who were completely conversant with religious principles desired to curse King Vena, who himself carried the rod of punishment and thus awarded him the greatest punishment, Brahmashapa.
So, second question is about the sages cursing Vena. Dharma Kovidaha. Munayaha Dharma Kovidaha. Why did the sages, Kim, were conversant with Dharma, that they understanding, they understand that their act would be sinful. They understand that. They are aware of that. Vamha Vena Uddishya. Vamha means what? Sinful activity. Amha means sinful activity. Vene Uddishya Amha, cursing Vena or killing somebody for a Brahmana is a very sinful thing. And they are aware of that. But still, why did the sages Brahmadandam Ayuyujan? Why did they punish and curse Vena? Ayuyujan. Danda Vratadare Ragi, especially Vena, was a king actually, who is responsible for punishing others, who is responsible for protecting the kingdom. So, Brahmanas cursing or killing somebody is something very unconventional actually. Brahmanas cannot kill somebody. And that too, the Brahmanas, they actually, they killed the king, who actually gives protection to the kingdom. Danda Prathadare Ragi. So here, Srila Prabhupada explains that the king is able to give punishment to everyone. But in this case, the great sages, they actually punished Vena. That means definitely this is something very extraordinary. Because for a Brahmana, one of the most important quality of a Brahmana is forgiveness. Brahmana becomes beautiful by the quality of forgiveness. Brahmanas, they cannot cause physical harm to anybody. Ahimsa is Shamodamas Tapashaucham Shantirarjavam Evacha. No. Jnana Vijnana Mastikyam Brahma Karma Svavajam. So Brahmanas have to practice ahimsa, forgiveness. So the fact that these Brahmanas, they killed Vena, they cursed King Vena and they killed Vena, that means the Vena must have done something extraordinarily wrong. He must have done something very seriously wrong. Otherwise, how could the great sages, who are supposed to be very much tolerant, how could they punish Vena, despite being aware of the religious duties? As when Vishwamitra asked Dasharath Maharaj, please give me your son Ram. That time Vishwamitra said that, see, we have the power to kill all those demons who come to destroy our sacrifices. We have the tapobala. But then we are not supposed to use our tapobala for that purpose. We cannot physically harm them. Therefore, we are asking for the Kshatriya's help. We are asking for your son's help. So the Brahmanas are supposed to be extremely tolerant. But still they punished and they are aware of their duties. That means the Vena must have done something very seriously wrong. So this also shows that although in the previous system there was monarchy was there, king had absolute power, but still the king would be checked by the Brahmanas. Therefore, Prabhupada says that it appears that the king was not independent of the Brahminical culture. So the king was not independent of the Brahminical culture, and the Brahmanas, they are not independent in the sense that they are supposed to follow the Shastra. They are supposed to follow the Shastra. They don't work under somebody. They are supposed to follow the Shastra. And because the Shastras say that Brahmanas to be tolerant and practice ahimsa, therefore Brahmanas are forgiving, tolerant. But this is an extraordinary circumstance where the Brahmanas killed the king. So Prabhupada says that above the king was the control of the Brahmanas, and if needed, the Brahmanas would dethrone the king or kill the king, not with any weapon, but by chanting a mantra. So the Brahmanas were so powerful that simply by their cursing, one would immediately die. So previously, the Brahmanas had such a power that by their tapobala, whatever they would say, it would become true. They could curse anybody, they could bless anybody with their tapobala. Once Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, that time he was asking for, he was pressing the bell to call for his servant and secretary. It was morning 6:30 or 6:45, winter time. The servant did not come. Then after some time, then Prabhupada called, then the servant came. So Prabhupada asked that, where were you? I had called for you a few times before. Why did you come that time? Then he said that it was very cold. I could not get up. I was taking rest, like that the servant told. Then Prabhupada said that if you attend the morning program, strictly, morning program means starting with the Mangalarti, usually 4:30 or 5 o'clock. If you attend the morning program strictly and chant your 16 rounds, follow the regulative principles, for 12 years, whatever you speak will become perfect. Whatever you speak will come into true. It will become true. So when a person performs tapasya, one gains the power. One gains the power. So therefore, these Brahmanas, they had great power. Then further, Vidura is asking the next question, next verse. Again, a question. Navadyeya prajapalaha
नामध्येय प्रजापाल
prajabhiragavanapi
प्रजाभिरघवानपि
yadasau lokapalanam
यदसौ लोकपालानां
bibartyojasva tejasa.
बिभर्त्योज स्वतेजसा. Translation. It is the duty of all citizens in a state never to insult the king, even though he sometimes appears to have done something very sinful. Because of his prowess, the king is always more influential than all other ruling chiefs.
Na avadyeyaha prajapalaha. Prajapalaha means the king. The king is never to be disregarded. Na avadyeyaha. Prajabir agavanapi, even though he may be sinful. But the king should not be disregarded by the citizens. Prajabihi. Why? Because yadasau lokapalanam bibartyojasva tejasa, because he maintains the effectiveness of the devatas. He is the representative of the devatas and he is maintaining the kingdom. So when somebody is having a higher responsibility, sometimes even if he commits certain mistake, he is not punished. There is also verse in the Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 33rd chapter, after the Rasa Panchadhyaya, when Parishit Maharaj is asking a question that how come Krishna, who is the speaker of Dharma, who is the follower of Dharma, how could he dance with other men's wives? In response to that, Shukdev Goswami says that Dharma vyatikramo dushta Ishwaranam cha sahasam Tejiyasam na doshaya vakne sarvabhujo yata. The status of powerful controllers is not harmed by any apparently audacious transgression of morality we may see in them. For they are just like a fire which devours everything fed into it and remains unpolluted. Tejiyasam na doshaya vakne sarvabhujo yata. When somebody, a powerful controller, even if they commit, even if they transgress certain morality, then they are not harmed. So something similar to this is spoken here. So according to Vedic civilization, the king is a representative of the Supreme Personality of God. Brahmanas are called as Kshatriyas are the Naradeva and Brahmanas are the Bhudeva. So the king is the representative of the Supreme Lord. So it is an etiquette that neither a Brahmana nor a Kshatriya is ever insulted by the citizens. Even if the king appears to be sinful, the citizen should not insult him. But in the case of Vena, it appears that he was cursed by the Naradevatas, that is the Brahmanas. Therefore, that means Vena must have done something very seriously wrong. So there is a normal rule and there is an extraordinary rule. Normal rule and then there is a apata dharma. The normal rule is that even if the king is sinful, he should not be punished. That is a normal rule. But the apata dharma, extraordinary rule is that even the king can be killed by the Brahmana in certain extraordinary circumstances. So the apata dharma, when the apata dharma is made into a normal system, then that becomes adharma. The extraordinary time, place, circumstance rule is made into a normal system, that becomes adharma. Sometimes when there is an emergency war, even common citizens who don't have the requisite training for war, they may be sent for war. In America, I think during Vietnam War. during Vietnam War, I think they sent young people, they made it compulsory, drafted. So, but such extraordinary time, place, circumstances, when it is made into a normal system, it will like that means like when people those who don't have the Kshatriya disposition, when they are told to compulsorily join the army, it will become a very it will cause great problem to the society. So apat dharma should be kept only during apat dharma. Sometimes in a family, suppose if the wife is not well, maybe husband has to cook. But if it is made into a regular, everyday affair, he is not inclined towards cooking. He doesn't have the skills for cooking. But if he has to cook every day, then it may result in some problems. Right? So therefore, Brahmanas killing Vena was an extraordinary situation. So Vidura wants to know about this. Etadakya hi me brahman sunitatmaja cheshtitam shraddadhanaya bhakthaya tvam paravara vittamaha. O Brahmana, knowledgeable of past and future. Para avara vittamaha. So Vidura is addressing Maitreya by saying that you are knowledgeable of the past and future. Etad akyahi, please tell the Sunita Atmaja Cheshtitam. Tell about the activities of Vena, because of which the Brahmanas punished him. What did he do that he was killed with the Brahmanas? Shraddadhanaya Bhaktaya. Please tell the activities of Vena to a faithful devotee. I am very faithful. I want to hear. So, Vidura accepted Maitreya as the Guru. And a disciple always inquires from the Guru, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. The spiritual master answers the question. Provided the disciple is gentle and devoted, Shraddadhanaya and Bhaktaya. So by the mercy, Vishwanath Chakravarti said that by the mercy of the Guru, one is blessed with the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So when the spiritual master will not reveal the confidential knowledge, if the disciple is not devoted, if the disciple is not submissive. Bhagavatam first canto, the sages are telling to Suta Goswami, Vetatvam saumya tatsarvam tatvatas tadanugrahat Bruyu snigdasya shishyasya guravo guhyam apyuta. Because you are very submissive to your Guru, definitely your Guru must have given the secret knowledge to you. So please give us that confidential knowledge. The similar verse comes in the again the 10th canto, which place I think in the Snigdasya word comes. The 10th canto in the Brahma Vimohan Leela beginning. Shukdev Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj, Shunushva vahito rajan apiguhyam vadamite Bruyu snigdasya shishyasya guravo guhyam apyuta. The same words. Bruyu snigdasya shishyasya guravo guhyam apyuta. O king, kindly hear me with attention. Although the activities of the Supreme Lord are very confidential, no ordinary man being able to understand them, I shall speak those confidential pastimes to you because you are very submissive. And spiritual masters explain to a submissive disciple even the subject matters that are very confidential and difficult to understand. So Bruyu Snigdasya Shishyasya Guravo Guhyam Apyuta. So Snigda means what? Submissive. Snigda also means that this verse also comes in first canto regarding Pandavas. Regarding Pandavas, it comes that Saratya Parshada Sevana Sakya Dautya Veerasananu Stavana Pranaman Snigdeshu Pandushu Jagat Pranatim Cha Vishnur Bhaktim Karoti Nripatis Charanaravinde. When Parishit Maharaj would be going in his kingdom, at that time, he heard the glories of his grandfathers, that is the Pandavas, being chanted by different people. About the Pandavas, what was mentioned? Maharaj Parikshit heard that out of his causeless mercy, Krishna, who is universally obeyed, rendered all kinds of service to the malleable sons of Pandu. Snigdeshu Pandushu means the Pandavas were completely malleable to the will of Krishna. And Krishna reciprocated by becoming a messenger of the Pandavas, by becoming the chariot driver of Arjuna, by becoming a friend, night watchman, like that. So when the disciple is very submissive and devoted, the guru is actually willing to give the most confidential knowledge. So Vidura is inquiring this. Now Maitreya Rishi begins the answer. So the next four shlokas, 25 to 28, Maitreya Rishi describes the sacrifice performed by King Vena. Sacrifice performed by King Anga. Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Angoshvamedham Rajarshir.
Angoshvamedham Rajarshi.
Ajahara Mahakratum.
Ajahara Mahakratum.
Najagmur Devatastasmin.
Najagmur Devatas Tasmin.
Ahuta Brahmavadibihi.
Ahuta Brahmavadibihi. Translation. Sri Maitreya replied, My dear Vidur, once the great King Anga arranged to perform the great sacrifice known as Ashwamedha. All the expert brahmanas present knew how to invite the demigods, but in spite of their efforts, no demigods participated or appeared in that sacrifice.
Mahakratum. Anga performed a great sacrifice, Ashwamedha. But Devataha Najagmuhu Ahuta Brahmavadibihi. The previous time, the Devatas would personally come to take part in the sacrificial offerings, to accept the sacrificial offerings. But although the Brahmanas, they called for the Devatas, but the Devatas did not come there. So Prabhupada actually talks about how the gravity of the Vedic sacrifice. So the Vedic fire sacrifice, Shrauta Yagya, is not an ordinary event. It's a very extraordinary event. Every small detail has to be minutely observed. I'll discuss about the next week also, some of the details. So the demigods used to participate in such sacrifices. Animals which would be sacrificed, they would immediately get a new life. Because in Kali Yuga, such powerful brahmanas are not present who can invite the devatas and give new life to the animals. Therefore, in Kali Yuga, such sacrifices are forbidden. There's a statement that Ashwamedam Gavalambam Sanyasam Palapaitrikam Devarena Sutotpattim Kalau Pancha Vivarjayet. 5 things are forbidden in Kali Yuga. Ashwamedha Yagya, Gomedha Yagya, Sanyasa, and offering meat to the forefathers, and having union with the brother of one's husband. These are actually forbidden. Like Pandavas, Draupadi had 5 husbands. That was allowed in the previous Yuga. Vyasadev united with the wife of his brother to produce, that is Ambika and Ambalika, to produce Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Previous Yuga it was there, but now it is not this one. So, in this age, the only practical yajna is Sankirtan yajna. Therefore, it's always important to understand and what is the process in the current age and give highest importance to the current process. Yeah, we do perform fire yajna as part of the, say, Graha Pravesha, or as part of the marriage or different Vedic events. We do perform them. But the highest priority is for the Sankirtan yajna. Tamuchur vismitastatra yajamanam atartwijah havimshi huyamanani nate grihnanti devataha. So vismitaha, the brahmanas became surprised. Yajamanam atartwijah. Yajamanam, they spoke to the Yajamana, that means they spoke to King Anga. Ataritvijaha. What did they say? Havimshi huyamanani nate grihnanti devataha. The devatas, they have not accepted, or they do not accept the oblations we have offered. Na grihnanti. Havimshi huyamanani. They do not accept the oblations we have offered. So Prabhupada says that, and then further they say, Rajan havimsya dushtani shraddaya saditani te chandams ayata yamani yojitani dhritavrataih. And then the Brahmanas are saying that adushtani havimsi. Whatever we have offered, they are not contaminated. There is no contamination in the dravya. Probably one may think that maybe because the dravyas are contaminated, the devatas will not come. But then we have offered only pure ingredients, adushtani. And shraddaya, we are offering with faith, and they are collected with faith. Shraddaya asaditani. Those ingredients are collected with faith. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 17th chapter end, he says that, the shloka? 17th chapter. Yeah, 17th chapter end, Krishna says, Ashraddaya hutam dattam tapastaptam kritam chayat asadyit uchyate partha nachatat pratyanoiha. Ashraddaya hutam dattam. Anything done as a sacrifice, charity or penance without faith in the Supreme, Ashraddaya, such a thing is impermanent. It is called asat and is useless both in this life and in the next. So here the Brahmanas are saying that we have collected the ingredients with faith. Shraddaya asaditani. Chandamsi ayata yamani. Ayata Yamani, the mantras are not weak. Mantras are chanted properly. And Yojitani Dritavrataihi. Mantras were chanted by the dedicated brahmanas who follow the vratas properly, Dritavrataihi. So they are trying to, the brahmanas are trying to, they are trying to understand what is the problem. Because of that the devatas have not come to accept the sacrifice. They are trying to check, do the different check and balance. Did we chant the mantras improperly, or some impure ingredients were used, or the ingredients were collected by some improper means, maybe with some wrong money, or the brahmanas who were chanting, did they not have proper character? They are saying that all these things are proper. So Prabhupada says that it is the practice of the brahmanas conversant with the signs to pronounce a Vedic mantra in the right accent. So Vedic mantras have to be chanted in the right accent. It's explained that there's a shloka. Vyagriyata haret putran damshrabyam nacha pidayet. Vyagriyata haret putran damshrabyam nacha pidayet. Bhita patana bedabhyam tadvat varnan prayojayet. One must chant, one must actually do pronunciation of the Vedic mantras and the shlokas the way a mother tiger is holding its cub. And the mother tiger holds its cub. The mother tiger, if it puts more pressure on its child, that the child would be hurt by the sharp teeth of the cub. And if the mother tiger puts less pressure on the cub, then the child may fall down from the mouth of the mother. In both cases, it will get hurt. So the mother tiger will put just appropriate pressure, which will neither hurt the child nor will it allow the child to fall down. Just like a mother tiger puts just appropriate pressure in holding its cub, similarly, while chanting the letters, while chanting the mantras, one should put just appropriate pressure. If it is a hrasva, just hrasva. If it is a dirgha, then just dirgha. If it is a alpa prana or mahaprana, that much pressure has to be put. Neither more nor less. So the Vedic mantras have to be chanted by the brahmanas who are conversant to the signs. The combination of the mantra and the Sanskrit words must be chanted with the right pronunciation. Otherwise, it will not be successful. So in this age, the brahmanas are neither well versed in the Sanskrit language nor very pure and practical life. Dritavrataihi. Dritavrataihi is important. So many times the Vedic rituals have to be performed in an empty stomach. When they perform in an empty stomach without eating anything, then they have a greater benefit actually. So somehow because of the Western culture's intrusion, the coffee and tea have so deeply entered that sometimes in between the rituals also one drinks coffee or tea actually. So in this stage, the brahmanas are neither well versed in the Sanskrit language nor very practical in practical life, nor very pure in practical life. But by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, the holy names of the Lord, one can attain the highest benefit of sacrificial performances. Even if the Hare Krishna mantra is not chanted properly, it still has so much potency that the chanter gains the effect. So in the case of the Vedic mantras, you have to chant absolutely properly. Vedic mantras, there cannot be a single mistake, slightest mistake. Swaras, Udatta, Anudatta, Swarita, Hrasva, Dirgha, Pluta, Alpa Prana, Mahaprana, they all have to be pronounced absolutely perfectly. If there's a small mistake in the swara, the exact opposite result can come. Twashta wanted to get a son who can kill Indra because he made a small mistake in the pronouncing of the swara. Instead of getting a son who will kill Indra, he got a son who was killed, who will be killed by Indra. But in the case of chanting the holy names of Krishna, even if there is some mistake in the chanting of the holy names, there's a pronunciation mistake. But Krishna is a Bhavagrahi Janardana. He accepts the mood of a devotee and he accepts the chanting. So, Murko vadati Vishnaya, Dhiro vadati Vishnave. Ubayostu samam punyam Bhavagrahi Janardana. So, Vishnu is the root word. Vishnave is the right form. When we say Vishnave Swaha, Vishnave Namaha, Vishnave, that means like I offer obeisances unto Vishnu. Vishnave, the Chaturthi Vibhakti, Vishnave is the right word. But a person who is not conversant, he may say Vishnaya. In the case of Rama, Akaranta Shabda, the Chaturthi Vibhakti word is Ramaya. In the case of the Ukaranta Shabda, Vishnu, the Chaturthi Vibhakti word is Vishnave. But a person who is not conversant, he may say Vishnaya. Or that is a wrong. But both the pronunciation will give the same punya because Krishna's quality is that he is Bhavagrahi Janardana. He sees the mood in which it is chanted. So therefore, but in the Vedic chanting, one has to do exactly properly. So Prabhupada mentions about the importance of this thing. So next week we will discuss further about some aspects of how in the yajna things have to be perfectly performed. And then we will further go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Prabhuji, why he left the kingdom after the son was born?
No. Now we will see the story that will come in future. Immediately not after the son was born. Because the son's character was so bad. He tried to correct him in many ways. But he could not be corrected at all. And then finally he developed attachment and left. That's an extraordinary story. It will come in the next few sessions. Okay. So there are no questions. We'll end here. Okay. Hare Krishna. Ratara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.